Greetings and salutations. My name is Levi. I'm your friendly neighborhood chibi Leviathan, and today I'm going to be recapping my D&D session from Lumineth. This is Session 9. We began Session 9 with a little bit of a Jew, a little bit of a side to where Zeke ended up, as after killing and decapitating those goblins, he had walked onto a trap where a magical hand had come out and gone and teleported him off into some place he could not perceive. He felt around and realized he was in some kind of box. He attempted to break open the box and was then met with a gnome. The gnome attempted to calm him, as Zeke was very irritated during this phase of combat and this teleportation trap. And then the gnome did let him out, attempt to bring him to us out on the battlefield, but Zeke, in his eternal wisdom, instead decided to A, try to get the capsule, to which he was unsuccessful in convincing the gnome to let him do, and then B, attempted to get some booze, a drink, brought to him before he would leave the building, which was, again, also unsuccessful because he refused to then wait for that booze to be brought to him. And in order to escape from the building, he was required to stomp all of the bugs that had made their way through the doorway from the outside, where Patch and Lyric had attempted to prevent them from getting in. Some did make it in, and the gnome's asked that since he was big and had bigger feet, was more adept at stomping, that he crushed some of these bugs on the inside of the door. He then made it his business to show the gnome that it was big enough to stomp them himself by lifting the gnome up and using him as a battering ram, smudging his feet into the bugs over and over and over. Thankfully, not his face, just his feet, so it really did just teach the gnome a valuable lesson that as a humanoid, it is in fact big enough to squash some bugs. Now, the rest of the party outside had continued on their way to go towards treasure, as we had all decided that that was our course of action, and Zeke, having been delayed because of the trap and then the bugs, left the building to see that not only were we several hundred feet away, but heading away from him. This confused him slightly, and he attempted to cut us off by running in a direction that was tangential to where we were going, and also that would meet up with us potentially quicker than he would arrive. The gnome, however, seeing that we were so far away and that it was potential that Zeke would miss us or get lost or other bad things happen, handed him one of the spell gems, crushed it in his palm, and teleported him using Dimension Door over to the party. So the party gathered together, discussed what they were going to do. Zeke attempted to leverage some kind of authority he believes he has as the leader, to which the rest of us balked and decided that in this moment, Lyric had self-appointed himself as the leader of the treasure hunt that we are going on, and that the rest of us were going to continue on this treasure hunt, whether Zeke came or not. Zeke was concerned about whether or not we would get the capsule back if we took this away mission, to which all of us reminded him we weren't getting the capsule back anytime soon, as this person who is putting their life force in it needed to rest, and also it doesn't belong to us, it belongs to our patron Heather, and so at the worst, it would be sent back to her before we arrived, but it's highly unlikely, as they would want someone to bring it back and aren't likely to leave Nomeria with it in their possession to bring it to Heather. So we had leeway to do what we wanted. Took a lovely stroll on Cisco, our bear, was shouldering the burden of most of us except for Milton, because being a Goliath makes you very large and not wanting to be carried by bears. So So Patch, being a light scarecrow, and Lyric, being a small Aragon, were able to successfully be allowed onto the bear along with Zeke, who took the time to lay down and use Lyric's fluffy legs as a pillow. We did manage to take one small break along the way where Milton and Cisco did some fishing, and Cisco wanted a portrait drawn of himself with the fish that he had caught because he was very proud of a big fish that he had caught, and Lyric, attempting to draw it, of course, rolled yet another natural one to make the worst picture he had ever drawn. Very cartoonish, very exaggerated, not very well done at all. We then continued on through this forest, which had some paths leading up hills, some tunnels leading through trees that bowed and essentially encircled the road. Very picturesque forest journey, whereupon, after failing a wisdom saving throw, Zeke began to sing songs from his hometown. This then also prompted him to ask Patch to as well sing a song that reminded him of his hometown. So the two of them together sang many songs that came from the area Zeke is from, as well as Lyric took the time to map their journey as well as possible to help them find their way back. They continued to track the map given to them by killing these goblins, to be fair, to find this treasure. In this journey, they were led to a house, which Zeke was not at all suspicious of, and the rest of the party were slightly more cautious. So Zeke barreled in through the door and started to investigate the inside of this house, while Milton stood at the door watching him, and Cisco investigated a lilac bush that he had never seen before, and he found to be interesting. And Lyric set off to the side behind a tree and started to cast Detect Magic to help figure out what is going on here and if there's any kind of magic protecting the place, that kind of thing. And Patch decided that he is a scarecrow and stood very still, attempting to be unnoticed, very much looking like that onion head scarecrow from House Castle. Upon further investigation of the house, Lyric found that it had many different kinds of magic layered upon it, the very least of which was abjuration, and there was very little no necromantic energies at it whatsoever inside of it. But much illusion and conjuration magic was used in this area. He was asked by Cisco to investigate the plant, but did not get around to that part, as inside of the building, Zeke, who was able to get into the second room of the inside of this house thanks to Milton using prestidigitation on a torch and lighting it, causing one door to open, was attacked by two mimics, one being, I believe, a dresser and one an armoire, who both attempted to eat him, causing the party to cautiously still enter the abode and help him with this fight. And we ended the night investigating the corpses of these mimics, as well as the bookshelf and other doorways. We found 3 separate letters, one of which from the foyer read, "No breath, nothing in his eyes. They took him from me, racked his body in cruel, vicious slashes. Once he was saved, we shall do so again." The note from the bookcase read, the bookcase had notes from herbology, poetry, fiction, and written in some unknown languages. The note from the mimic said, "Weeks, days, and months I sat in pain. All the while she tended to my wounds, bound them in the leaves of the rowan tree. The bloodied leaves she did take. I wonder why. And the third note, which is in the head of the wolf, said, "For he hath risen hale and sound, with the sun high in the day. None shall harm him from this day forthwith." So we ended session there with all of this information to ponder and the rest of a house to explore.